Wednesday, September 13th. So we have for today. You should be halfway finished with your book by this weekend. Not yet. You still have time. Pizza party coming up on Friday. If you've not brought in money, you can still probably bring it in tomorrow morning. We'll be ordering during fourth period. We have a bell work. Hello, Mr. Roboto. For those of you who know your 70s songs, it's a classic. Our bell work is not about that song, though. It's just a good reference. And then, we already took our people who did this one. If you're at home, eventually you get to join us. Go to 7 Elements with the hand signs. Make sure you write this down. This is our bell work for today. You have 4 statements. Tell me why you agree or disagree with each one. I would choose to do online school if I was allowed to. I would enjoy school if it wasn't for the teachers. The best thing about school is all of the people here, and I think technology is only making the world a better place. Tell me why you agree or disagree with each one, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to have a little discussion, the argument thing about all these coming up. But before we get there, we got to get to this. To your iPads! On here with Newsela, the thing that we set up with you guys a little bit ago. Now, here's where the official stuff comes in. With Newsela, every kid in the school, both 7th and 8th grade, is doing Newsela, where you are going to be reading articles and going to them and stuff like that, which kind of made me mad at the start, because I work pretty hard to not make you guys read stories I think are boring. If I think a story is not fun, I don't want to make you do it. So the idea of them making me make you read things made me kind of unhappy. But luckily, I found several articles on there that I don't think are awful. So here's what's going to happen with it. Each week, you get to read an article and then take a short little quiz to help bump up your grade. You can either choose one of the articles I've assigned to you, and there's like 8 different ones I found that I thought were kind of interesting, or you can completely pick your own article if you want, and that's fine with me too.
What's our username?
And if you don't remember how to get in, I'll put that up there for you too. But once again, your username is what... If you don't remember how to get in, your username is the beginning of the HSE email, the same thing you use to get into Wi-Fi and stuff like that. At least that's what it was supposed to be when you set it up. And then it's supposed to be your HSE password. If your name already existed, then it's your old HSE birthday. And then when you log in, there's a little button that says save this login information. Save it. And that way it makes it easy to get back in. If you can't get in for some reason, then you have homework. Figure out how to get into Newsela. If you still can't figure it out, then tomorrow, while we're doing the book report stuff, your time will get a chance to work on it then. This is why I try to tell you, make sure you make up a password and username that you're going to remember, so that in the future you don't hate yourself. Guess what? Future you now hates past you if you can't get into it. If you can get into Newsela, look for articles on there. I have several I've assigned. You're more than welcome to choose one of those. I found ones like virtual reality that they're making into the video games. They're turning those into the new theme parks.
Yeah,
and so I thought that was kind of a cool article. They have one about that old Mayan game, which I learned about when I was around your age, where they had to like hit the ball with their elbow and they had to go through the hoop. And then if whatever team lost, they killed them. I found that fascinating. There's an article on that too. It's like the very first sport they ever realized they did, where if you were the team that lost, they just slaughtered you. They sacrificed you to the gods, but they killed you. And then also the song, the ABCD, they did history to find out where that song came from. So I found articles I thought weren't awful. If you think all of my articles are awful, that's fine. Pick your own. What you have to do is between now and next Wednesday, because that's when this is due, find one article and then take the test at the end. That test is for a grade. It goes in there to try and bump you up. My goal is that it should be a pretty easy one. I think it's a 4-question test. So if you get a perfect score, I give you a bonus point. It gives you a 5 out of 4, so it gives you extra credit. If you miss a point, then it drops you down to a C. So essentially, you're either going to get a C or an A plus or a D. So that's or an F. Those are your 3 choices on this one. Hopefully, they're all A pluses, but we'll only you get a chance to control that. You are going to have a new article each week from Wednesday to Wednesday to Wednesday to Wednesday. And so for each week, you're going to have to do one and then turn one in. Rylan.
What's the class code?
You should already be signed in. But if not, you just sign back into it. There you go. I have the class code ready for you also. Joaquin?
Is this like a G3000?
That would awful.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's
It's a
what
little
I was thinking
different.
as well.
I've never done Achieve 3000,
It's pretty much you read an article and answer questions.
and I guess it's a lot like Achieve 3000.
Oh no.
Yeah, my daughter did a little bit of Achieve, but she seemed to really hate Achieve, and I'm
Yeah.
hoping
No.
this is...
Yes, she had a very good reason.
Yeah, and so I don't think this is nearly as bad from what I understand. From what I've been playing with it so far, you guys are my first ones I've done this with. So I don't think it's as bad, because me just playing around with it, the articles didn't seem awful, and the questions weren't that tough. So hopefully it's not the same. Yeah.
So I clicked on an article.
Good.
And then this came.
That's a picture. Good job.
Yeah, but it's not moving off my screen.
Okay, I don't hit your home button and clear it out. You've never used an iPad?
It was so cute.
Yes, adorable.
This
I
is
tried to
making
get
me
started and it won't let me get
frustrated.
started.
It says I already have an
Well,
account,
isn't that
but when I
just
try to log in, it won't let me.
So tomorrow, when I say we're going to deal with all those issues, that means we deal with those issues.
It won't let me get started.
So now, keep your iPad out to the side, because we're going to come back to that for our article today. I will send you reminds, and I will put information up there on the screen reminding you, hey, have you done that Newsela thing? If you're having trouble with your Newsela, tomorrow we'll work on it then. And that's fine. We have a whole class period to solve problems like this. With your fisherman story, no, sorry, I didn't take it. Thank you, dear.
What pencil?
With your the fisherman, I want to go through and hopefully help you out with the answers. And so on that right-hand side, that back side of your notes is homework due on Friday. So hopefully I can give you the answers and make things a little bit easier for you. With the fisherman, we only had 2 characters in that whole story. There were only 2 characters.
Genie and the fisherman.
There you go. Fisherman and genie. Then you had to have descriptions of each character. A description that can't work for any other, we only have 2. So it has to be a description that doesn't work for any other character. So for the fisherman, Casper?
Net fisher?
You said he what?
Net fisher?
Works for me. A net fisher. He definitely is. I went for religious and poor. You could put down old. You could say finds container in ocean. Your answer does not have to be the same as mine. You just have to have some description that's not going to work for the genie also. And then Matthew, for the genie, what description?
Mean.
Works. That's actually pretty close to what I had. I put mean and not smart. You could put grumpy, you could put vengeful, whatever works for you. Some description of our characters. For the setting, we have when and where. For the when, both whens were in the very first paragraph. When does it take place?
Once upon a time.
Nice done. Long time ago. And
Seashore.
in the morning at dawn. Well done. For the where's it taking place? Seashore. I did put a second one in there because I realized there you go. If we have genies, where do genies usually live?
In the Middle East.
I figure you don't usually have Eskimos picking up, genies and hanging out. If you do, send me that story because that sounds fun. One about genies hanging out with Eskimos. I can't wait to see where that one
I'm
goes.
just gonna sign it in.
For the point of view, is it first person or third person narrator?
Third person
Limited.
It is third person. Now for the next part, between limited and omniscient, if it's limited, there's one character that shows up in every scene. Do we have a character that shows up in every scene?
Yes.
What character?
Fisherman.
That's correct. Fisherman shows up in every scene, so it is limited following him. Mr. Broviak, what about the genie? The genie is in it. And Mr. Broviak, the genie is there, but who's the genie talking to? There you go. So, but what about what he's talking about when he was younger? Who's he telling that story? Oh, the fisherman. Exactly. And so he's the fisherman's there the whole time. For your theme, turns out kids are smarter than I am because you've come up with better themes than I did. So a theme for this one just has to be something that applies to the story that either character can learn. My only guidance is going to be don't be super specific because my kid in first period was don't pick up jars you find in the ocean or genies are going to come out and try to kill you. I'm like, wow, that's specific. You might have a hard time finding a way to apply that to other things. I would change that to be careful what you open. That would be more of a theme. So my question is, do you guys have themes that you think would work here that you can connect to it? Julian?
Use your mind.
How so?
Because the fisherman tricked the genie.
Perfect. Using your mind works for me. Joaquin?
Don't kill people,
And how does that apply?
because the genie killed the Who Man, and the Who Man trapped him.
And it backfired on him. Matthew?
If you, If you find a container that is cursed with a genie inside, never open it and just leave it.
Might be a little specific. We'll back that back up to don't open random objects.
Okay.
That might work a little better. Abby,
Don't be mean.
don't be mean. General enough. Works for me. Castens,
Always be vigilant.
make sure it works. Mine was strength doesn't always win the battle, but all of those work. Well done. And then we went internal conflict. The fisherman does not decide how to die, but he does make a decision in the story.
Open bottle or sell.
Let
Good work.
let out the genie, or let him grant him a wish. Let him grant you a wish, or keep him in the little bottle.
So, kind of, I like where you're going, but the only problem is I don't think he ever actually makes that decision because
Yeah, cause
Accept death.
the fisherman doesn't get to make that choice. I mean, I'm sure he wish he did, but that is an
no,
internal
at
conflict.
the end when he was like, "I'll grant you any wish."
That would work. Now I'm with you. Well done, Miles. That one I would count.
Damn.
And then Nick Hill
Accept death or trick him.
would work. Accept death, find a way to live is what I put. If you put something different, don't erase yours to make it work with mine. Yours is every chance yours is correct. I'd much rather you be all thinky than make sure yours matches mine perfectly. Because there are a whole bunch of different answers that work. I'm just coming up with one for the lazy kids. For the genie, he also has to make a decision. Actually, he makes multiple decisions in the story. Because when he pops out, what does he decide to do?
Kill man or don't kill man?
You globetrotter in this room.
Kill man or decide
To let him live.
Or
There you
brutally
go.
abuse him.
And
Wow.
I actually typed "let him love," but I thought about changing it afterwards. I was like, you know what? Because my first period caught that. Turns out, I think that's just me mistyping things because there's so much love in my heart that overflows onto my writing. So it's just a thing that happens. So either kill the silly fisherman or just let him love. Love is not enough. External conflict. This whole story is external conflict. It is all about a fight between two beings. Because who's fighting?
Fisherman
Fisherman
and
and the
genie.
genie.
So how do we write it?
Fisherman
Here,
and
first.
the
Wait,
genie.
can we put
There
the
you go.
fisherman in the net because he never catches any fish?
You can put the net versus the ocean, I guess. And that would probably work too.
Dead donkey versus.
And then, why is it important? Well, what's the genie trying to do to him?
Kill him.
Yeah.
I hope that's an external conflict. If someone tries to kill you, you don't just roll over and accept it. Like, slap in the face or do something to try and make it a little tougher to kill you, but
Stab him with a knife.
that would be a way to fight back.
Sound like that.
For our plot,
Like what happened in Building Prison.
once again, if you've already done plot, don't erase yours to make it match mine. Yours could be fine. The very first thing that happens in the story,
Fisherman goes after fish.
how many times?
4.
3.
He only goes 3, but he's supposed to be doing a total of 4. So I put fisherman only tossed that 4 times. Then I jump to number 5. What was number 5? What's the last thing that happens?
Trap genie in bottle.
The fisherman tricks the genie back into the canister. I'm going to give you number 3 because it's right in the middle, and that'll be my one gift to you. I put the fisherman discovers genie in a canister. So genie is in the canister.
Oh.
So between him deciding to throw it 4 times and him discovering there's a genie in the canister, something has to happen between those 2 plot points for the story to make sense. And what would happen between those 2 things?
The fisherman catching garbage.
And then right after that,
Discovering the genie.
Shells.
went too far,
Oh, he throws it back.
getting closer. What's the genie in?
No,
Oh,
I'm
wait.
saying number 2. He
I know.
discovers garbage.
Good, but you
Oh,
can't just...
finds the canister.
There you go. That's when he has to find. He can't discover there's a genie in it until he has it. So at some point he has to find the canister.
Gets told about his death.
And then if 3 is the fisherman discovering there's a genie, and then 5 is the fisherman tricking him back in, Nick Cahill,
The genie tries to kill the fisherman.
perfect. Genie says he'll try to kill the fisherman. And then that works for me. Something along those lines. That's what I'm looking for. And so I was just trying to throw them out there to make life a little bit easier on you.
Couldn't like
Don't want you copying all mine down exactly. Have faith in your own ability to translate it through your brains.
I put period at the end of the
Miles?
When he said you can choose how he died, couldn't he just been like, first you disappear into thin air, and then 80 years later I die?
Yeah, because I had that earlier, and the kid was like, "Can he die of old age?" And the only problem is he's already old, so the genie's like, "Done," because it says old fisherman. So, but yeah, I mean, I would think you could try to be kind of, but I'm not sure it's worth it to try and sass a genie. That might come back to
You'd be like, a bottle came down from the space.
You're more than welcome to outsass your genies if you want. Now, let's get to our story that we get to argue about for today. So I'm going to have you, as long as you're done with that fisherman stuff and you're done with the Lady and the Tiger stuff, you can push that away. We are done with it for now. Until Friday, when we get to bust it back out and show it to me so I can give you points. Now, download today's story.
Dang it.
I say download because you are going to want to have access to it on Friday
I'll be down.
for the quiz, because I'm not going to give you directions on how to find it again. I'm simply going to say, well, where did you download it? You're going to say, Mr. Bro,
Robot teachers, what the frick? That's weird.
I don't
So there's
know.
a new story on there
I can't
called
find it.
Robot Teachers.
That's cool.
I don't know.
I would like a robot.
Are we gonna read
Bianca.
alphabets?
Have faith in your own ability. Stop cheating on me. Know that you have the ability. It's in your own head. I'm going to make this disappear in just a moment. For those of you who are still slow, it should be pretty easy. My website, short stories, first button.
Where's the first one?
It's like the second button, but before that. Or the third button, but two before that.
Here, stop, I got you. Do you
Don't do it for her, or
You
she'll
gotta
never
click
learn.
the regular.
That's true.
Who needs to learn?
Okay, then you gotta go.
Done.
Do not use this page, hold info, go back, and use tab.
Which one?
Yeah, you see, I told you.
Yeah, totally.
I use the tab at the top.
There, look, you go to home more files.
Joaquin?
Are we ever gonna read such a random story?
Alright, on this one, we'll start reading the story in a moment. But firsties,
How do I download it?
I want to know what your thoughts are on
Who's
this
trying to
box.
airdrop me?
Yeah.
I'm getting
Yeah, there's things in the air. So for each one of these, I'm going to tell you whether you agree or disagree with it.
Except.
And then we'll sort of give us an idea of what we're going through from there. The first one, I would choose to do online school if I was allowed to. If you agree, raise your hand.
No.
Disagree, raise your hand.
Yeah.
What?
Alright.
Wait, what was it?
2, I would enjoy school if it wasn't for the teachers. Agree?
I mean, some
Disagree.
teachers are nice. Most of them are
3,
mean. Very true.
the best thing about school is all the people here. Agreed? Disagree? Alright. And 4, I think technology is only making the world a better place. Agree? Disagree?
Wow.
A couple things before we read the story. 1, I did a good job writing these questions because this time I got to split the class almost every time, which means I've managed to find questions. I don't want questions where everyone agrees because that's no fun for our arguments. But I found ones where you guys all seem to be split. That makes me much happier. 2, I was really surprised on the last one. I've had a majority of kids say that technology is bad in every class. This is the first class I've had that many kids actually agree with it. Most of my classes, it's almost unanimous that everyone's against it, which I find ironic because you guys are considered the technology generation, and yet you guys are all, yeah, the fact that you guys were born in the age of computers, and yet you guys were all, almost every class has been, no, technology's awful. So I find that fascinating. Even more so with the article we're getting ready to read, because this is going to be kind of scary then.
We're gonna end up like freaking.
What we're going to have is 1, what is it that surprises you as we get into it? 2, any opinions? 3, any facts? Here's our article, and do your best not to get worked up and all shouty at me as we go through and read it. I understand you're going to get excited, but we'll try to keep shouties till the end.
Shouty, shouty.
Inspirational robots to begin replacing teachers within 10 years. I just found this article like 2 days ago, so I was super stoked. Robots are going to will begin replacing teachers in the classroom within the next 10 years, which means by the time you graduate college, they're saying we're going to be phasing out teachers in the classroom and just using robots and computers. As part of a revolution in one-to-one learning. In one-to-one learning is the whole idea of one computer for each kid in the class. We are one-to-one here. Each kid has an iPad. Other schools are not. They have 30 iPads for the whole school and kids have to share. We don't, so we're one-to-one. What they're saying is where we're going is pretty soon it's going to be one-to-one, where you're going to have a specified iPad/computer robot teacher for each kid.
What the heck?
Sir Anthony Selden, blah 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 blah, said intelligent machines that adapt to suit the learning styles of individual children will soon render traditional academic teaching all but redundant. The former master of Wellington College said programs currently being developed in Silicon Valley will learn to read the brains and facial expressions of pupils, adapting the method of communication to what works best for them. The new era of automated teaching promises an end to grouping children by year, as the personalized nature of the robots will enable pupils to learn new material at their own pace, rather than as part of a class. To translate that, we are no longer going to have grades, and we're no longer going to have classes. You're going to have individualized learning, where you have your very own computer that will teach you. You no longer have to worry about coming and being grouped by 7th grade, or being grouped by 12-year-olds, or being grouped in a room. So that's what's all going to change in the next 10 years.
Let's do that.
It's going to open up the possibility of an Eton or Wellington-style education for all. Everyone can have the very best teacher, and is completely personalized. The software you're working with will be with you throughout your education journey. He warned, however, that the new technology would have to be carefully introduced to avoid infantilizing pupils and teachers. As part of the robot-led learning, teachers would adopt the role of overseers, just monitoring the progress of individual pupils, leading non-academic activities, and providing pastoral support. In other words, we would be more like therapists and helping you whenever you have computer issues as opposed to running a classroom. The efficiency of automated teaching would also mean that only 30% of school time will be spent in class. In other words, you'll still be in school for 8 hours, just no longer in a school building. You'll spend most of your time at home in front of a computer, and then only come to school for a small part of it. You're not stopping learning, you're just going to stop being in a room with me. You'd have to do all of your learning at home with a computer, and then just come to school for like PE and things like that. A contemporary historian who has written biographies of lots of famous people said in his new educational book, The Fourth Revolution, the impact is going to be massive. This is beyond anything that we've seen in the Industrial Revolution or since with any other new technology. The first revolution is understood to consist of learning the basics of survival: foraging, hunting, growing crops, building shelters. In other words, when caveman sort of figuring out how not to die. The second revolution involved the first organizing sharing of knowledge, which means we formed towns, and the third was marked by the invention of printing, because once we became smart, we could pass words on to other people. Automated teaching machines would be extraordinarily inspirational, Sir Anthony said. You'll still have all the humans there walking around during school time, but in fact, the inspiration, in terms of intellectual excitement, will come from the lighting up of the brain, with the machines will be superbly well geared for. The machines will know what it is that most excites you and gives you a natural level of challenge that's not too hard or too easy, but just right for you. He expected the National Union of Teachers to be very alarmed by the prospect. The technology's already beginning to arrive. It's already on the west coast of the U.S., and it's already beginning to transform schools. I'm expecting this to happen in the next 10 years. The great danger is that it takes jobs away, and for human beings, much of our fulfillment in life comes from the satisfaction of work. If we get the technology wrong, it'll end up doing everything for us in the same way that sat-navs mean we no longer know how to read maps. Experts predict that automated teaching of math and science will be the first things that are machine-led, but that sophisticated algorithms would soon be devised to teach other classes like English or social studies, but those are a little bit tougher to do. Those of you who followed the iPhone X reveal that popped up yesterday,
so good.
it
looks terrible.
It looks
What the?
luckily I could care less about that part, but it connects to our story here, because one of the big things about the iPhone X is it talked about the fact they got rid of the fingerprint scanner. And now it's a face scanner that's going to be coming out. With that, the idea of the face scanner is the same technology they're going to be using here. The idea is essentially, when it says a robot, it doesn't mean robot. It means iPad. And so eventually they're gonna have, so those of you who got excited think you're gonna have your own cyborg walking around. No.
That's what I
It
thought.
just means you're gonna have an iPad that's gonna be updated to the fact where the camera has facial recognition on it. Not where it unlocks it, but it'll watch you as you're reading your Newsela. And what it'll do is it'll be able to tell when you're not paying attention. It'll be able to tell when you get bored. And so it'll be able to react to you in ways that a teacher can't. So let's say you get distracted moving shoes around the classroom while a teacher's talking and you're thinking you're getting away with it. The computer would know right away that you're doing these things because it can tell when you're focusing and not doing the things that you're supposed to. So that way it connects to you and changes things in a different way.
What happens if you get mad at it?
It's just like getting mad at your iPad. I mean, it's still just a computer. The idea is they're getting rid of teachers. The idea of being at a school and interacting will be disappearing. Those of you who have the hopes and dreams of being a teacher, the idea here is it doesn't exist in 10 years. That there won't be teaching positions. That if you want to go to school to be a teacher, you won't be a teacher. You'll be more of a therapist or a computer fixer-upper kind of person. That's where they're trying to predict these things from going. So my question to you is this good or bad?
So,
It's
What are
good.
your thoughts?
Terrible.
can I?
Good.
Miles?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You? Okay. What will you do when the computers take over?
He's gonna.
That is a good question.
Probably have retired.
Part of it is, in all theory, that'll be close to within a few years if I could retire, but I hope not to. I'd like to teach for a long time because I'm 40 and I really, really enjoy what I do. And I also hope from what I've talked about with kids, this seems to scare kids more than excite most kids. The idea of
Because it's a
losing an interaction with people. So
Yeah, like.
Yeah, while you want to
I thought X and
We'll see.
Parallax was what was face.
No, no.